Good evening, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome to CLB Live. My name is Christine L. Bowen, also known as CLB, and I am your host tonight, facilitating a conversation about sparking hope amidst chaos. I am so excited to have you tuned in tonight. If this is your first time tuning in, whether it's through clblive.tv or WLVSradio.com, welcome. Thank you so much for joining tonight. This is a show that has been in operation since 2014. It has been such a tremendous collection of conversations. And if you didn't know, I was on a brief hiatus. I keep mentioning that because this is not the first time around the rodeo. A lot of people, it's a new concept, CLB Live. It's a new show, and they're like, where did she come from? So I just wanted you to know that we've been around since 2014, broadcasting globally. And since returning in February of this year at WLVS Radio and Listen Vision Studios in Washington, D.C., we had all of this that we're experiencing right now take place, the global pandemic with COVID-19. And so it kind of pushed me back a little bit. It kind of pushed me back like a lot of us. We had big plans for 2020. Yes, it's our year. We're going to do it. We had all kinds of grandiose plans. And those plans are still there. However, it's just interesting how life takes turns and we have to become agile or fluid with the plans that we create for ourselves. Long story short, I decided to move forward with hosting a series of one-to-one conversations with some of the people in my life that have impacted me in a tremendous way and also can add value to the times we're living in right now. So again, if it's your first time here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome to you. Welcome back. Thank you so much for coming back and joining us for this interactive conversation tonight. Before we dive in and I introduce my special guest to you, I would like you to settle in. Let's just let go for a moment of the day. Let go of the day. I hear someone exhaling. Yes, let's exhale and prepare ourselves for what could be a turning point. It might be the exact information we need right in this moment to move forward with our week and the new month that's ahead of us with refreshed energy, with a reignition of a spark that we had at the beginning of the year so that we can charge forth with a blazing fire, regardless of the circumstances that are around us. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. So if you'd like to partake in the conversation, see, I just had to exhale. If you'd like to take part in the conversation tonight, you are more than welcome to do so. That's what CLB Live is all about. This is not a we talk, you listen, but if that is your flavor, that's quite okay. However, if you'd like to actually participate in the conversation, I'm going to encourage you to do so. How do you do that? You can do it one of two ways. If you're watching via clblive.tv, you can participate by commenting in the comment stream right there on the YouTube page. If you are watching on WLVS Radio, you can also participate. Just use the hashtag CLB Live, either here on Facebook, on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and I'll be sure to receive those comments throughout the week so that we can make sure you are engaged in the conversation, because the conversation starts tonight. However, it does not end tonight. This is where we begin talking about sparking hope. And it is my intention and my prayer that we can continue these conversations on an ongoing basis. Okay? Also, grab a cup of whatever. This is my coffee mug. However, it has H2O in it tonight. Got to stay hydrated, so I opted for water. So hopefully you have something a little more exciting than that. If you do, there's no judgment. And if you don't, there's no judgment on that either. You can have tea, whatever it is you want. This is a very laid back type of broadcast. It's a laid back type of show. This is not a formal interview. This is a conversation. We're just chilling at home and we're having a good time and interacting and engaging with each other. Okay. I like to keep it casual. So we're going to dive into this conversation tonight. The guest that I have with me, I am extremely excited to have her with me tonight because not only is she one of my dearest divine connections whom I met, oh my goodness, maybe 6 years ago on Google Plus. Remember that? And we developed just such a tremendous friendship. And I consider her to be a sister now. And the first time, which was the last time she appeared on CLB Live, was June of 2018. And we were discussing creating change. And she so graciously agreed to come back for this special series to talk about how we can spark hope amidst chaos. So this young lady is the CEO of Sparks of Hope. She's also a certified fearless living coach. She's a speaker. She's an author. She's an awesome friend. She's an awesome sister. She's an awesome mother to those who she mothers. And she is just phenomenal soul. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on to the screen with me none other than Shay Sparks. How are you, my love?
Good. How are you? So happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's fantastic to have you, Shay. Welcome to the new version of CLB Live, right?
Right? Yes. Yeah.
Oh my
Last time we were in
goodness.
studio, so totally different.
It was all bright lights and big city, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
So we're a little bit more low key. Excuse me. We're a little bit more low key. But I think it's appropriate for the times that we're living
Mhm.
in to have this type of intimate setting for this conversation, because even though it's lighthearted, the spirit of the show, it is pretty serious what we're going through right now collectively. So how are you doing? Before we even get into the meat of the show, how are you doing?
That I had to exhale too. I think that's one of the things I'm noticing is how I forget to breathe sometimes. They say it's involuntary and it's automatic, and yet I feel like if you're in stress, right, or in fear, you breathe from your chest and not from your stomach. And that's where you get the really most oxygen in your body is when you're breathing from your stomach. So I'm doing okay. There are days where I'm like noticing I'm forgetting to breathing. What about you? How are you doing?
Yes, I'm glad you brought up breathing because that's very important.
Yeah.
And even though I have been a mindfulness practitioner for about a decade, this bag of chips is new to me and pretty much everyone on our
Everybody.
planet.
Yeah.
And so, thank you for asking. My response to all of this unconsciously, I've just been experiencing things I've never experienced in my life. Meditation has been um, a little bit more challenging to settle and connect.
Yeah.
My spiritual practices, I had to make, adjustments with
Mhm.
that. I am remembering to breathe every day. It's just, it's challenging. I'm going
Yeah.
to say it's challenging. The emotions are up and down.
Yeah.
And I'm glad, see, this is why I love you. This is why I love you. I'm glad you asked that and that I asked that, because doing that check in, um, especially for those of us who are heart centered entrepreneurs, we are experiencing this. However, at the same time, we are the light bearers
Mm.
for this time that we're living in. I'm calling it a time of transition. A lot of people call it the great pause. There's
Yeah.
so many names that have been assigned to the time that we're living in right now. And one of the things I appreciate about you, with your message being a spark of hope,
Mm.
um, is that it went right out my head just that quickly. And that's one of the effects of what's going on, is
Yes.
things just fly out of my head. So I apologize for that. But being a spark of hope, let's talk about you. You also talk about sharing stories.
Yes.
You start your message that way. When we share our stories of how we overcome obstacles, that's the first step. So, what I'd like to do before we jump into the meat of the conversation is share your backstory. Let's introduce you to the audience. Who's Shay Sparks? Where are you coming from? How'd you get to this point today?
Oh, wow.
That's
Do
a
we have
big
enough
one.
time for that?
Try to put that into like a minute.
You're right. Gosh. Like you said, we met 6 years ago, which is just incredible. And before I met you, I had been on this journey of self improvement, self help, self discovery. For several years prior to that, I was in an abusive relationship, and he was in a car accident, and I was able to get out.
Mm.
And immediately within the first week, I started counseling, I started reading books, I started coaching, I started peeling away the onion that we are, is what I say, right? And what I learned is that I had so much stuff about myself that I was unwilling to talk about. And the word vulnerable, I couldn't even pronounce. I was unwilling to be vulnerable whatsoever.
Mhm.
And so what I found, yes, I'm all of those things that you said. I'm a coach and a speaker and author. I also am a hairstylist. And so I would be in the salon on a regular basis, and my clients would come in. They're like, "So what's new since I've seen you last in the last, month or 6 weeks?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, let me tell you about what I learned about myself." And I would tell them this crazy thing that I learned, that maybe I'm emotionally unavailable, or maybe I was unwilling to be vulnerable, or maybe it was that I used to be a bully when I was a kid and had completely forgotten about it. And they were like, "What?" Like, I
Mhm.
can't imagine that about you.
Mhm.
And I'd say, "I know, it's crazy, but I am very good at masking who I was."
Mhm.
And I was not willing to share my truth of who I
Mhm.
was because I was afraid no one would actually like me.
Hmm. I hear
And
you on that.
right? And then this craziest thing happened. So I would share this story. 4 weeks, 6 weeks would go by. They would come back and they would say, because I'm like, "How are you? What's new with you?" And they're like, "Well, because of what you said to me, I went out and I learned something about myself. And this is what I learned." And their life started to shift. And so I was really thinking about the whole, yes, I was a bully, and I figured out that bullies are hurt people, and hurt people,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And so I
Mhm.
started to just, out of curiosity, kind of try on, just kind of explore, do empowered people empower people?
Mm.
Yeah. Yes, right? And I started to just go down that journey, that path, and just go, hmm. So the more I'm empowered and the more excited I get about learning about myself, the more it overflows onto other people.
Mhm.
And then when they go out and they get inspired and they do something and they start to shift and their relationships start to heal. Maybe they grow their business. There's all these different areas. And I was like, huh. So maybe, and then I started to realize that it makes me excited. So you said I'm the CEO. Yes, I'm the chief excitement officer because I get excited when I see other people succeed.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. And
Okay.
so, yeah. And so going over everything I've been through, I've survived abuse. I've survived addiction. I was a teenage alcoholic. I
Mhm.
was a bully, and I was bullied.
Mhm.
I had anger issues, and I found that out in my late 20s, that I had an anger issue. I was suffered from depression and low self-worth, because why else would you be, willing to be in an abusive relationship? It's because I didn't love me. I didn't know how.
Right. Right.
And so I just started to learn all this stuff and heal and started to share. And it just started this ripple effect that really started other people shifting in their life. And I now see change in a whole different light. I used to see it as something scary. I used to see change as something that my friend would always say, well, change is necessary. And change was always scary. Like, I was unwilling to change.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now I see change in a completely different way.
Mm.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, thank you for sharing, being so transparent with us tonight.
Thank you.
I'm pretty sure that many of us, including those who are watching, because we had Dwina chiming in about peeling back the layers. She could relate to what you were saying, and I'm sure there are many others watching that can as well. So thank you. I know I can. So
Yes.
we all have our baggage. We all have our stuff. Many
Yeah.
of us have worked through, many of us are still working through, and this moment in time that we're living in is prompting many to begin the journey of working through baggage. Now, that's what I call it. I call it baggage.
Right.
There are different names for it.
Sure.
That's
Sure.
my term.
Sure.
I like the shift that you made though with hurt people to empowered people. I absolutely love that because you're absolutely right. It's contagious.
Right.
It's contagious. Excitement is contagious. Enthusiasm is contagious. Joy is contagious. These are all things that we want to catch.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
we don't need
Yes.
a mask for that.
Yes.
So my question now becomes going into what we're talking to tonight, sparking hope amidst chaos. I touched on us being entrepreneurs, being the light bearers, the ones that are forging the way. It presents its own set of challenges. So that's what I want to break down tonight. Number one, the challenges that we are facing as the ones who are shining the light, or even the
Sure.
ones who desire to but don't know how to get there. And then the second piece is, how do we work beyond it? How do we let go of what's happening,
Yeah.
actually zone in to our purpose, our power, and so forth? Now, you mentioned change.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
when I had the privilege of having you on the show the first time, we were talking about creating change. I mean, we broke change all the way down in that conversation. It was, I think, 9 + 2 made 11 of us. I think it was
Right.
11 of us that had that conversation. Um, and I'm mentioning it for the audience so that if you want to go to the archives and check it out at clblive.tv, you definitely want to do that because we're not going to break down change too much tonight, but I think it's important to touch on it. So Shay, let's talk. That's what I call her, folks. Shay. She's my sister. I can call her what I want.
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
I just want to welcome, before we continue, we have Dwina, welcome, and Jaleese. Hi, honey. I think there's another viewer as well. Thank you for watching. Those of you on clblive.tv, also WLVSradio.com. Thank you so much for tuning in, whether it's directly on WLVS Radio or on the WLVS Facebook page. Thank you for tuning in. We're talking about sparking hope amidst chaos with Shay Sparks. So let's talk about this, Shay. Where do we begin? Because a lot of us are feeling high emotions right now, very high, very volatile. So where do we begin to spark hope? Because it almost sounds like an oxymoron for the times that we're living in.
Right. Right. So, gosh, how do I want to explain this? So you talked about having a challenge.
Yes.
So this is the challenge, right? Right now is the challenge of acknowledging what you're feeling. That's what we're challenged with.
Mm-hmm.
And really, this is the great change. You know, we were talking about creating change. Well, we don't have to create it. It happened whether we liked it or not, right?
Right.
And I think that's where people get stuck in but I don't want to. I don't want to change. I don't want to wear a mask. I don't want to stay home. I don't want to, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, gosh. So first of all, I think the best way to look at this is that it is a change. And just like grief, grief has seven stages of grief. I think change has stages too that are very similar to grief. In fact, grieving, I think, is one of them because and people are talking about it's a new normal. And, I'm all about language. And so new normal doesn't sit well with me.
Ditto.
because it's not normal. What we're going to go into after this is not anything that we have ever done before. So let's just keep it as the new lifestyle instead of the new normal, right?
Yes.
This is new going forward. And we're all going to be new going forward. And so if people are fearful of change, that's going to be the challenge. So I highly recommend thinking about grieving your future plans.
Because I touched on that at the beginning of this show. Talk to me, girl. You're talking to me right now.
So, well, so for those of you who don't know, Christine and I are in separate cities right now. I'm in Kansas City and she's in DC, but we're actually roommates part-time.
Yeah.
And so I get the privilege of being in the same room with her most of the time, or at least part-time. And that might completely shift and change, and we have no idea. And so and people aren't graduating, right? People are going through things at high schools and colleges, and they're not able to graduate because we have this aspirational self that we like to look at, which on one hand is actually how hope starts, is thinking about that aspirational self and what you want amidst right now, not the chaos, but amidst right now. So before this happened, that's where hope starts, is thinking about where could I be in 5 years? Where could I be in 10 years? What could happen if I do this? You know, lots of different things. And if you just think, okay, so if none of that happens, am I going to be okay? And yes, it will hurt. And yes, you will be okay. And I think that's the first challenge, is to be okay with whatever it is that you're feeling at the moment.
Sure.
So in the beginning, we talked about how we are literally up and down most days. And some days you're every emotion in the same day, same hour, maybe even the same, 20 minutes sometimes. And so it's just to give yourself grace, show yourself compassion, show yourself kindness, that it's okay to feel exactly how you're feeling. Just be able to identify it. And so there's a process that I help my clients go through, and I'm going to share it with you guys. It's called the 4 A's. And the first one is acknowledge. Acknowledge what you're feeling. And we all know mad, glad, sad, but go a little bit deeper. Maybe it's frustrated. Maybe it's
Angry.
maybe it's desperate. Maybe it's confused. Scared, right? There's so many different things. Maybe it's hopeful. Maybe it's a little bit of excitement because, you watched whatever, that Tiger King or something, maybe something, right?
Yeah.
So it's okay. Just acknowledge it. And then the second A is allow time to process. So for me, I like to journal. We had talked about meditation. So if you just sit with that feeling, let's call it anger, if you just sit with that for a moment and you just breathe in and you picture in your mind what that anger looks like, and if every exhale you push it out of your body, that allows you time to process that feeling.
Yes.
So it could be anger, it could be grief. I mean, guess what? You can be crying and meditating at the same time. Oh, yes, you can. And it's okay to have those feelings, have that experience. Because once you've done that, you've allowed it to get out of your system, so to speak. Because in the third A, you can ask yourself, what is it that I am committed to? For the little things right now, and they're not really little, but they're big, they add up to big things, like I'm committed to taking a shower every day. I'm committed to brushing my teeth every day.
Yeah.
I'm committed to making sure that I'm exercising and eating the right foods and drinking enough water. Or you could say, I'm committed to loving my spouse. I'm committed to being the best homeschool teacher for my kids. Like, I'm going to figure that out, whatever that looks like. Best doesn't mean perfect. Best means best for you in the moment.
That's right.
And then once you've kind of realized or wrote down, acknowledged what your commitments are, what you're committed to, then the fourth A is to act on those commitments. And, just by saying, well, I want to maintain my health, great. Making sure you're drinking enough water, eating the right foods. Christine and I were just talking about the grocery store before and all the things we do to wipe down and get ready and all that stuff. Just making sure you're still doing that, even if you're having them delivered in, making sure that you're not, don't get me wrong. Everybody loves potato chips every now and then and ice cream, and that's okay. Just making sure that's not, every single meal, every single day.
Yeah. I have a little bit of feedback, and we didn't have that before. I'm not sure why. Testing. Okay, I think we're good.
Okay.
I think we're good. So you laid a load on us, a good one though. You laid a load on us. Love the 5 A's. Did we get to the fifth one?
4 A's. It's 4 A's.
It's 4 A's. Okay.
Yeah.
So acknowledge, allow, and then I wasn't sure what the A is here. Is it what am I? Ask.
What am I committed to?
What am I committed to? And then act. These are great points. And I paused because I wanted to acknowledge some of the comments from our Clb Live Tv viewers, specifically this one from Dwyna. Well, first of all, she thanked us for addressing this topic tonight because so many of us need it. And I like what she says here. Let's keep it transparent. This is the first step to healing for all of us going forward. Yeah. And that's so true, because the human tendency is for us to, want to hide under the covers, so to speak. And even if we're not literally doing that, we're doing it in a figurative sense. We're shoving down emotions. Yep. We're downplaying and not feeling what we're actually going through. And I think I'm so glad you brought this up. I love you, because to me, whether we're entrepreneurs or not, but I'm framing it because that's mainly who I speak to and serve, our heart-centered entrepreneurs, wants to go from feeling that scariness, that fear, the anger that we all felt when all of this started to go down. Yeah. And wanted to go from that to 150 miles an hour with their businesses. Right. Without doing these 4 A's, without acknowledging what we're feeling, allowing those emotions to work through, and giving ourselves the space and the grace to actually experience what we're experiencing. Because the reason I mentioned you spoke about stories to start this process is this is our story. We're living in it.
Totally. Yeah.
And we need to allow ourselves the privilege, actually, of being the observer of our stories, the story that we're creating right now, individually and collectively. Yeah. 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 Commitment is huge, Jaleese says. Yes. Yeah. Yes. So this helps us deal with the emotional aspect, right? These 4 A's are helping us deal with the emotions that we're feeling right now. And we'll continue to feel, I'm sure. Yes. Because this morning, I'm going to be completely transparent, because that's how I do on CLB Live. Yesterday, I wanted to postpone tonight's episode. And today, at least 3 times, I was going to message Shay and be like, you know what? I'm not feeling it today. I mean, I just had an emotionally weird day, and I've had many of those since all of this has started to happen. But today in particular, and I know why, because this is purpose work. And anytime there's purpose work involved, here comes resistance. Yeah. However, I allowed the emotions to flow through me rather than try to pretend. Right. Allow it to overcome me. I just said, you know what, let me just feel what I'm feeling. I journaled. Yeah. You can be proud of me. I journaled feelings, and just allow them to work through. And here we are. Here we are right now. And so I think this is the first step for being a spark of hope amidst chaos. Is that right?
Oh,
Practicing these 4 A's?
absolutely. Absolutely. And also, I just want to put in there, you talked about how, as entrepreneurs, you go from being fearful to 150 miles an hour, right? Hit the ground running. I think one of the things that you need to realize, and that would be in the acknowledge part, the first part, is to know what you're doing to distract yourself. Because some people might be eating too much right now. Some people might be drinking too much. Some people might be trying to be busy.
Too much? Yeah.
Too much of anything.
Yeah.
And when you're distracting yourself and not allowing that time to process whatever it is that you're feeling, it's going to persist.
Yes.
So when we go back to, and I don't want to say go back, when we start the new lifestyle, when we start that, whatever that looks like, all those fears, all those feelings are still going to be bubbling under the surface. But you've been so good at pushing them down with food or alcohol or distractions, whatever.
Whatever. Mm-hmm.
You're still going to hurt later on. So you're
Right.
prolonging your hurt rather than just taking care of it in the moment
Mm-hmm.
when you distract yourself.
Agreed. And then that it's like a pressure cooker, right? It
Yes.
becomes something that bursts out of us in like a fit of whether it's anger or depression, whatever it is, it just
Yeah.
comes, it accumulates and
Mm-hmm.
builds. Um, Especially with the experience we're going through, because again, this is something that like 99.999% of us haven't been through before ever.
Right.
And I believe that we actually have entered into that new lifestyle. I think everyone's kind of, when I say everyone, I mean the masses, the languaging that's out there is like we're waiting for some point that okay, this is the new. No, we are living it. We're
Right.
creating it
Right.
moment to moment, day by
Yes.
day,
Yes.
individually for ourselves as well as collectively. Like before we went on air, everyone, Shay and I broke down our shopping rituals right now and how it
Yeah.
differs from before. I mean, it's a tedious process, but it has to be done. And each time I venture out to get my groceries, it becomes a little bit more okay,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So okay, they're booming over in the comments.
Okay.
Oh, they say they don't hear me. They couldn't hear me,
Oh,
and I said a mouthful.
I know.
Nice.
That's terrible.
I'm going to repeat this part. Thank you, folks. I didn't see that I was muted. Can you hear me now? I think there's a delay, so I just want to make sure they hear me, but they should be able to hear me now.
Okay.
Okay, so I said a mouthful, but I'm glad this is on WLVS as well. The point I wanted to bring out is that we are creating our new lifestyle
Yeah.
in the present.
Right.
Something, it's not something that's coming. It's here. It's
Right.
now. And I think many people have that future casting because I think it's denial. Like this couldn't
Yes.
be it. This couldn't be it. This couldn't
Yes.
be the normal right now.
Right.
And I too don't care for new normal because what is normal?
Right.
Normal surely wasn't what we're coming from prior to all of this.
Right.
What's unfortunate though is, that people, and history has shown this, that we experience a lot of loss
Mm-hmm.
when we go through these kinds of global shifts, even
Sure.
on a smaller scale with change, but with these types of global pandemics, there are many, many lives that are lost. And that's the unfortunate side of it. I'm not going to go too deep into that. However, we, the ones who are still here and that are dealing with the day to day, how do we now take all of this energy that we
Mm-hmm.
have
Mm-hmm.
and transmute that into being hope, a spark of hope for ourselves as well as our communities and the world. So, where do we begin there?
Mm.
What's the next step after we've acknowledged and allowed and asked and
Mm.
act? Is it the act part?
I think so. Um, so it's funny. I was on a call last week with a group of people, and one was a parent. He was talking about the challenges he was having with homeschooling his 4 children. And, they're all scared right now. The kids are scared. And he's like, and I don't really know how to do this. And it's ironic because I started a speech a couple of weeks ago with, they said, "What's next with Shay Sparks" as the title. And I went, well, shit, I have no idea.
Right.
And
Right.
I think if you literally just have honest answers with yourself and with your loved ones and go, I have no idea. This is all new. It creates a common theme with everyone that it's okay to not have the answers.
Mm.
And that is where the whole sharing your stories of what you've overcome. We've all overcome we overcome March. Okay. We overcome April. Okay. That's what we've overcome right now. And that
Yes.
is huge what we've overcome. And
Yes.
I have chills just talking about it because that in itself is monumental.
Agreed.
And so it is okay to not have control of stuff you can't control. So it is okay to admit, I have no idea what's next with your spouse, your family, your kids, your community. Like, let's pretend it's an entrepreneur that's watching this. It's okay to say that to your clients
Yes.
because when you are transparent, it gives the other person permission to be transparent.
Mm. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
Yes.
And when you're vulnerable, the word I couldn't say before, the more vulnerable you are, the more confidence you gain. So if you're being vulnerable, you're giving that other person permission to be vulnerable. And then you're gaining confidence with just saying it that I don't know. I have no idea what's gonna happen, what's gonna go down.
Right.
We're all, people are saying, well, we're not in the same boat. I get that, but we're literally none of us have any idea what's next.
That is true. Very
So
true.
for me, that's how I say we're in the same boat because we're all in the same boat of this is now our time. And you used the word before we're creating it. Well, how cool is that for
Yes.
creative entrepreneurs to really step up, right? And be able to create what's next.
Yes. Yes.
So you can come back to those aspirational versions of yourself where the hope begins and now get to create something even more beautiful, something even more hopeful, something even more freer because you're
Yes.
not putting constraints on it.
And real. Because
Yeah.
aspirations are great. However, I'm guilty of this in the past where, you get so caught up in that perfect future
Yeah.
that it becomes almost unattainable,
Right.
unrealistic.
Right.
And it's like a constant thing that you're going after. And I think this opportunity that we're in right now is giving us, this moment I say that we're in right now is giving us the opportunity to be that person and realize that it's not even that big, grandiose picture that we had. It's actually
Right.
just dealing with the day to day, going to
Right.
the grocery store and then having to bring them in and wipe them down. And
Yeah.
that's superhero activity to me.
Yes. Yes.
Color me purple, but yeah.
It
you
is.
know?
It is.
Yeah. And
It
that
is.
to me is hope. And you've touched on that. Being our transparent selves right now, being human, gives other people permission to be human. We are being reminded of humanity right now.
Yes.
And to me, what I see happening on a daily basis in a positive light, that's hope.
Yeah.
Those
Totally.
are sparks of hope.
Yeah.
Us making it through the day is a spark of hope to me.
So, one of the exercises I did when I was in this abusive relationship that was so monumental for me, and I realized that's how I got hope in the midst of literally chaos of this relationship. And I started to think about one day I'm going to die, right? So I went down a really bad dip of depression where I was just waiting to die.
Mm,
And then something shifted. My mindset shifted. Okay. So, first of all, I think you have to have a mindset shift. You have to have that coming to Jesus talk, whatever people
whatever.
call it,
Yeah.
right? Um, and think, okay, so when I get out of this, what do I want for myself? Now, here's the thing. When I started to think that, I did not say I wanted $1 million and a big house and the blah, blah, blah. I didn't say all that. I said, I want to love myself. I want to be able to look in the mirror and be happy. I want to be excited about my life. I want to thrive instead of just survive.
Mm, mm-hmm.
So I know 98% of the population in the world has been through something where they didn't think at the time they were going to survive. So that could be a job. I mean, a job layoff. It could be a diagnosis. It could be a car accident. It could be anything. It could be even a long period of time where it was a health scare or, abuse relationship or a drug addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And that's your rock bottom they talk about in, AA.
Mm-hmm.
And you overcame that. That brings hope.
Yes.
That instills hope that you can overcome whatever else comes your way.
Mm. Beautiful. What's sparking me, pun intended, right now is, well, I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it. You'll still see me, but our audience will see what I'm sharing. PJ, this is the screenshot. I don't know if you have this. It's a black and white with a purple at the top with a quote. So here's what you share, Shay. When we share our own lessons, when we share our own lessons learned of overcoming obstacles, we ignite a tiny spark of hope, love, connection, and community in other people. And when we unite that spark, the whole world lights up. First of all, that's beautiful.
Mm, thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful quote and
Thank you.
sentiment, and very true. And I'm going to allow you to expand on that since it's your notable quotable. My understanding of it is what we've been talking about tonight, because what's dawning upon this big head is that there's nothing really special to being a spark of hope amidst chaos. It's actually being our human selves.
Yes.
Yes? So
Yes.
talk to me. We have about 5 minutes to break this down.
Gosh, 5 minutes to break it down.
I know.
Okay.
No pressure.
No pressure. Yeah, I go back to the being willing to be transparent and be vulnerable and share the dark, deep hurt wounds that no one is willing to share. And when you share it, like I said, it just allows that other person permission to share theirs.
I have a question on that.
Yeah.
So I practice being as transparent as possible. You know this,
Yeah.
especially with people that are in my inner circle, but even publicly, social media, whatever I'm sharing, it's just my true authentic self.
Mm-hmm.
Going through what we're going through now, you touched on this. and I'm sharing this because other people may experience this. I was transparent with one of my clients, and initially it was received well. And then in a conversation that followed, that my vulnerabilities and the things that I shared was literally thrown back in my face.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me angry.
Sure.
But mostly I felt ashamed,
Mm.
standing up for myself.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, how do we deal with that resistance from other people?
Mm.
What's your advice for that when we are being our true selves and it's being perhaps rejected by those other people or some other person?
Well, that's a extremely good point, and it's going to happen.
Yeah.
One, because they're not willing to be vulnerable and transparent with themselves.
Mm.
So when you're sharing your true, authentic self, like you said, how it lands on another person or how they take it isn't your responsibility. And that's where, as empaths, we forget that.
Mm-hmm.
As sometimes as codependent people, we forget that. We are holding ourselves accountable for how they're receiving information.
Gotcha.
So how she reacted to you was unfortunate. And believe me, it happens. And yet that has more to say about her than it has anything to say about you.
I didn't say it was a he or she.
Or her, him,
Right.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel you on that though. Yeah, it's not owning that person's stuff because everyone has stuff.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
shame is really fear showing up, means you've been triggered. So you're feeling like, oh my God, I shared, so now I'm a loser, or I'm
Something wrong
rejected,
with me.
or poor me, I can't believe I did that. Right? Or I'm a fake, they don't really believe me, or I'm weak. A lot of men think weak when they share their feelings, right?
True. True.
And then that's very shameful. And so you have to like go back and go, okay, so I'm triggered. How can I not beat myself up in this moment? How can I take all that inner negative self-talk that's happening right now and treat myself with compassion and kindness and be loving and grace, and just really go, was I okay with who I am? Was I speaking from my heart? And I'm okay with that. And I'm okay with who I am and my journey. That's on them.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
So it sounds like, to sum up this whole conversation and the topic that we're touching on, sparking hope amidst chaos. I mean, honestly, it took a turn. I wasn't even expecting to hear what I heard tonight. You have dropped some really major nuggets on me and our audience tonight. Thank you for that.
Thank
What
you.
I'm hearing in a nutshell is being a spark of hope amidst chaos is giving ourselves the love, the grace, the patience, everything that we're perhaps seeking from external sources is giving that to ourselves. I believe that we access that in the breath. We started our conversation about breathing, being still, journaling, just doing the things for ourselves that will nurture our souls. That's how we fuel our
Yes.
spark, right?
Yes. Yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
Love it. I don't want this conversation to end. Can you believe we are like 5 minutes left
Oh, love it.
already?
It's flown by.
It has.
Flown
And
by.
I'm so proud of myself. I didn't get distracted with too many things going on like I normally do because I really wanted to be present for this conversation. You are such a blessing, not just to me, but to so many people that you touch.
thank you.
I watch you in awe, in admiration. I'm proud of you. As my soul sister, you inspire me every day.
Thank you.
You're
You
welcome.
inspire me, and I mean, I remember seeing your CLB live going, oh, I want to be friends with her. And now I can't believe
Here we are,
here
right?
we are.
Yes. Good
Oh,
memories. Good memories, right?
yes. Yeah.
I miss those Google Plus days. You know
I,
that.
I know.
Um,
But it's just so amazing to me to see how a connection that happened so many years ago has now moved us into literally the same space.
yeah,
You know, we had never know. We literally never know where our path is going to be taking us,
that's right.
where our
And I
connections are going to go.
and I believe nurturing ourselves, nurturing our light, basically,
Yeah.
um, attracts those like people,
Hmm.
similar people, because energy will attract those people who are also working on themselves, people who are also being transparent. And it's that collective energy
Yeah.
that will shift our world. I believe that now is the time. We are living in tumultuous times, and this is not the first time our planet has gone through this. Um, and I believe now is our time to really reflect on our own light, and reflect our light so that we can shift the mass consciousness on this planet. That's my mission. This
Yeah.
is why I decided to continue to broadcast, because I wasn't going to, like I said at the beginning of this, when I had the rebroadcast or the launch in February, and then we went literally on lockdown within 2 weeks of that happening. I was like, well, what's the point?
Mm.
But then in my meditation, in my journaling, it was revealed to me that this is the point.
Yeah.
Now's the time to do what you do. You've been preparing all these years to
Yeah.
do this. And I'm like,
Right.
oh, okay. So
And I just want to say to that, I think all of the heart-centered entrepreneurs have been preparing for this.
agreed.
Like I mean, I coach in people with fear. This is exactly what we're trained in. You know, anybody who's coached in helping others, period, get to the next level. This is exactly what we've been trained in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So thank you for being a spark of hope and a light worker and always shining so brightly. So thank you for all
Thank
the
you,
work that you
honey.
do.
Before we break away from this part of the conversation, because like I said, everyone, it doesn't end tonight. We started this tonight. How do we get in touch with you, Shay Sparks?
Oh, awesome. You can go to my website. That's shaysparks.com, SHASPARKS.com. You can find all of my social medias on there, my podcast, my, what else do I have on there?
Monthly show, your live show.
Oh, yeah. And my Hey Shay, what do I say? Facebook Live show. You can go there as well. And you can find me on all the socials at Shay Sparks. And that's SHASPARKS. And yeah, it was just such a blessing to be here. Thank you.
Oh, thank
Thank you.
you. And
Thank
just so
you.
you know, for those of you who are watching on CLB Live TV, whether it's now or on the replay, your bar is there with your social media
Oh,
for
perfect.
your personal as well as Sparks of Hope. So you all can find her on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter.
Yeah.
Definitely look her up. She's such a bright light,
Mm.
especially with what we're going through right now. She's one of the people that keeps me uplifted every day. So I'm going to encourage you, if you feel a little something that says this woman is special, listen to that and please connect with Shay Sparks, because I know that she will bring so much value to
Mhm.
your life. All right, folks. Thank you for being here, Shay.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure.
I
Pleasure.
love
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, folks. That hour went by like, right? So fast. But it was jam packed with heartfelt conversation. Shay brought out some points tonight that I know I need to go back and look at my notes. This was the first time in a long time that I had to literally pick up my book and start like literally taking down some serious notes. So thank you for that, Shay. I hope you got value. For those of you who tuned in, thank you so much. I pray and hope that you receive value tonight. I hope that you um, will be able to maintain your peace on a day to day. It is literally a day to day to me, moment to moment, even. And my encouragement to you to be a spark of hope amidst the chaos is to find yourself, your true self, in the breath as we started this conversation. 5 minutes each morning, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour, whatever you can allot to connect and align with the higher power that is keeping all of this going is what will fuel us. I know it's what fuels me every day. That's why I'm sitting here right now. Because, like I said, I almost canceled 3 times. Just being transparent, honey. But here we are. So, thank you for tuning in tonight. If you'd like to watch the replay, it will be available on Clb Live Tv immediately following this broadcast. Find value, please share with them. I would be so grateful because this is why I do what I do, to inspire others. That's it. That is the mission of this show, is to inspire and stimulate creative thinking so that we can live creatively. Because I believe when we live creatively, it is as close to divine as we can possibly get. Mwah. Thank you so much again. Have a wonderful evening, and I will see you next time on CLB Live TV. Have a wonderful night, everyone.